I've attended this grief ritual workshop with Carolyn Baker, and it was a very profound experience. One never knows what to expect. It's the first time for me to attend a grief ritual. I've been at other retreats and workshops, but not this kind of ritual workshop. And so I came with an open mind, an open heart, with some tentativeness as well. But I was really surprised at how everyone was able to show up. Everybody's coming from a different place, carrying different kinds of grief. And we created a wonderful container, an amazing container for people to be who they are and to receive whatever they needed to receive in this time.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Baker, and I'd like to invite you to join me November 27th through 29th at the Rowe Conference Center for a weekend workshop entitled The Gifts of Grief, the Sacred Work of Moving Through Loss to Joy. Everyone in this culture is carrying some grief. It may be in relation to personal losses, the death of a loved one, the ending of a relationship, a life-threatening illness, a loss of career, or perhaps grief regarding the state of our planet at this time of unprecedented global crisis. All forms of grief are connected, and we need a safe and supportive environment in which to feel our grief and know that we're not alone. To do this, we begin moving through the grief to a place of joy, creativity, peace, passion, and purpose. Now, many indigenous cultures, such as the Dagara tribe of West Africa, perceive grief very differently than this culture does. In fact, in that culture, the people believe that if we do not grieve consciously on a regular basis, we become toxic to the community. My friend and colleague, psychotherapist Francis Weller, talks about grief as soul hygiene.
So in some ways, our not having practices to move through grief keeps our lives small. I consider grief a threshold emotion. In other words, when we step across that threshold and enter the room of grief, it has a way of opening up the rest of our life. We enter the hall then of community, joy. Even William Blake said, the deeper the sorrow, the greater the joy. When we compress the terrain of grief, we also compress the territory of joy, and we end up living in a flatline culture, which is where we are right now. And then when you live in a flatline culture, you rely upon stimulation and stimulants to give you some sense of being alive, because we're not experiencing genuine joy, nor are we expressing genuine grief. So these practices become what I call soul hygiene. We know how to take care of our teeth and our hair and our body. We exercise. Those are all hygiene practices, but we forgot about the hygiene of the soul. And to clear out the soul regularly with practices around grief is an absolute necessity. Denise Levertov had a little sweet poem. She said, to speak of sorrow works upon it, moves it from its crouched place, barring the way to and from the soul's hall.
The Gifts of Grief workshop at Rowe is going to provide the kind of safe environment where people can consciously grieve together and support each other in doing so. My experience has been that when people engage in conscious grieving together, a deep bond is formed. And shared grieving is not only cleansing, but strengthens our capacity to love and to express our gratitude more frequently and more fully. Yes, grieving together is truly sacred work. I really want you to join me November 27 through 29 at the Rowe Conference Center in doing this amazing work, which takes us down into our grief and brings us back up into a profound celebration of our humanity, our connection with the earth, and with each other.
And the other thing just to say is, I feel like I can carry the gift of this workshop. workshop doesn't quite contain the reality of it, but this experience back into my context, both in memory that I can reclaim, and also in practice. I feel like I have some new quivers, no arrows in my quiver to draw from when I am encountering my own grief in vivo. Because grief comes not according to our schedule; it comes as it comes. And I'm looking forward to exploring ritual more and more in my encounter with loss. So I want to thank Carolyn Baker for just doing a wonderful job of drawing us together and creating a container for this to happen. And all her teachers who have provided this for us. Thank you.